Alright, so we're going live on the penultimate stream of the year. As I noted last week, this will be the next to last stream for the year, as the week of Christmas and New Year's I will be traveling, so there will be no Sunday night streams. I might try to somehow fill in the content gap on the channel for that, but beyond that, I don't honestly know. So we were playing the same list that we played last week. There were some unanswered questions about last week's list that I wasn't sure on. Obviously, we're still testing Ragavan. I think the general consensus is it's been okay, not great. It's kind of a curve filler. Burn really lacking an alternative third one drop. You know, your choices obviously being things like Soulscar Mage, Wild Nacatl, Vexing Devil, Legendary Ronin, or whatever that card is. The Goblin War something or other that's both trash. I think I'd look these cards up after talking about them for weeks. But Nacatl, obviously, land base is very terrible. Soulscar Mage, good in Prowess decks. It could be okay in Burn, but not ideally what we're looking for. DRC, Mishra's Bauble, really only good whenever you have access to Lurrus. I mean, you could run it, but it's very big nombo with Eidolon especially. Once again, was only kind of good in those Lurrus-esque builds, and even then, I still think the general consensus was traditional Burn was a little bit better. And then, you know, most of the other options, Vexing Devil and stuff, are just significantly worse and have been tested significantly over the years. Ragavan, the big plus with it, obviously, is the dash ability in the mid-game. Gives you another haste creature while being another one-drop in the early game against the other decks that you need to be aggressive against. You know, early turns against Amulet, early turns against so many other decks, especially when, you know, the creativities in decks and stuff, you know, starting out often on tap lands. It gives you an opportunity to get in, start getting a little bit ahead on mana and stuff. Obviously, the X1 body, not all that great in a lot of situations. Burn is not Murktide or Scam. It doesn't really disrupt what the opponent's doing a ton, other than maybe what they have on the board with things like Searing Blaze and Bolt, obviously. So you're not going to get the leverage that you get out of something like Murktide and such, with, you know, the ability to protect it with Spell Pierce's counter spells and such. But, you know, it's still a welcome addition to the Burn family. Overall, kind of remove Skullcrack from the equation. There isn't a ton of life gain in the format. Helix, another way to deal with Ragavan, with dashing abilities, etc. Racing does come up sometimes, especially in those Murktide-esque matchups or Scam matchups sometimes. So I've been running 3 Helixes. Running 3 Eidolons, been kind of testing this for a bit. Feels decent. You know, some people like having access to the 4th copy of Eidolon, or just been cutting Eidolon entirely. Both camps are fine. I found that ideally I want to see like one of this card a game, so cutting it down to 3 makes some sense. Rest of the deck, nothing terribly exciting or different than most of the standard lists, other than we run the one of Sekenzin as opposed to a Fiery Islet, just to kind of mitigate damage a little bit. It does come up from time to time, kind of getting your opponent a couple points of damage out of nowhere, or, you know, potentially creating some chump blockers in combat by yourself a turn or two. Not terrible for utility land, and, you know, even under Blood Moon, it's just another mountain, so it's fine. Sideboard, Path and Palm. Not a huge fan of either card in the meta. A lot of people love Deflecting Palm, especially against Hammer Time. Problem is, they have Spell Pierce, or they know how to play around it, so not the best card, but still a card you want to have access to. Same thing with Path. Sometimes you just have creatures you gotta deal with, like Murktide and such, to buy yourself some time. I know a lot of people would prefer a 3 damage spell, but sometimes you're there at like 10 life, have a Murktide in play, and you just path their thing by yourself 3 more turns. Smash, not terribly exciting. Mainly here for Urza Saga decks or Chalice. Biggest notable obviously being Hammer Time. It's not even particularly good in that matchup anymore, just because they have so many different protection spells and such. But nevertheless, it's a good card to have access to. Sanctifier, once again, pretty middling. It has some matchups where it's reasonable against. It's okay in the Murktide matchup, but not good. Gets blanked by Shredder and Murktide. Does kind of blank their one drops, so kind of a mixed bag there. Obviously, their deck can't remove it, so if they don't have their blockers and can't counter it, this can put a clock on them, which is okay. Decent against decks like Dredge and Scam. it's worth its sideboard slot. Same thing with Vortex. We haven't been seeing a bunch of Cascade decks lately, or a bunch of life gain decks, honestly. But, you know, does fulfill its purpose and is decent against control. Exquisite Firecraft. There's a lot of blue decks running around. Murktide, Creativity, Escape Shift, etc. You have a bunch of counter spells to fight through. This is probably your best tool to finish off a game through a ball of counter spells if you get them to a low life total. So, pretty much why we're on the sideboard we're on. Nothing terribly exciting in a burn sideboard anymore. But, you know, they're all role players. They all fit in what the deck's trying to execute. So, let's get in and let the burn nonsense go. Get into the first match, shall we? Guess I'd like to play first. This hand's pretty reasonable. Goblin Guide and a bunch of burn spells. 3 lands. Seems pretty reasonable. There's a Saga deck. Well, could be Titan or... Yep, looks like we're up against Titan immediately. Not the best of matchups, obviously. Chances are I should maybe throw that at the face. Because it's possible this Goblin Guy will just do nothing if they have a Dryad this turn. Curious to see if they block. Good chance they won't, so... Just pass. I mean, they have Titan, we're dead anyway, so no reason to waste burn spells on. So they're on a little bit of a slower plan. Jacoball does literally nothing. Wow. So we're dead next turn. Alright, put them to 7 and pass. But basically these reclaimers mean that we're just going to be dead this turn. Titan is probably Burns' worst matchup at this point. At least of decks that see common play. Allocate and just don't miss. Are these going to do anything? That's kind of a weird one. So, I'm not sure on the rules text on that. So, this requires 5 other mountains to deal damage, but they only had actually 5 lands in play once they had to sacrifice the Boseiju. So I don't know if that's actually should have happened, but interesting. So opponent having Reclaimer makes Blaze a little bit better. Really don't like Path in this matchup, but it does answer Dryad and Titan cleanly. Could bring in Smash for Urza Saga crap and Amulets. Don't know if that's worth it. Deflecting Palm, very middling against their deck the way they usually play. That said, you can occasionally hit a Titan for 6, but at that point in time, you're usually getting domed by Valakites. So it may just literally be like 2 Path in, 2 Blaze out. Because Blaze can be such a middling card in the matchup. Not that Path's super exciting either, but we're on the play, so we need to stay aggressive. Spike Skewer, Boros Charm, so like this is a good burn hand, but the problem with burn hands against Titan is they're just often too slow. Because we need to draw another land. This hand currently has 1, 2, 9, 12, 16 points of burn. So we literally need to draw like another land plus another burn spell. Like I could mulligan for a creature, but obviously if they have Arboreal Grazer, Reclaimer, etc., it gets a lot worse. So I'm going to keep the hand, but obviously it's not the best in this matchup simply because the matchup's about speed. And Titan is one of those decks in the format that just, much like Green Tron, just doesn't deal damage to themselves. Unlike Green Tron, they have plays that matter before turn 3. And most of our creatures will be pretty bad draws as the game goes along. See, a creature here would have dealt probably 2 to 4 damage. Path is not the card we were looking for. Gonna fire off one of the 2 casting cost spells simply because there's a much better chance that we wait, what is going on? They have just the nuts. That was a whole lot of mana fiddling for not much value. So they can Titan us this turn, so it's possible I should have left Path up, but I don't think it's going to matter. Yeah, we're just dead. Turn 3 KO. Once again, could have left up Path, but Titan is just an abysmal matchup. Alright, on to match 2. Be on the play against Storm Crow. Love the name. With what? Judge's Familiar is their card. Giganta. Don't know that that tells us much, but 4 lands, can't keep. This hand's fine. Put back Sunday Canyon. Lead on this, so we have the option to Searing Blaze something next turn, potentially. I don't expect my opponent to play anything here that we can Searing Blaze. Snow-covered mountain into Bolt. Okay, that literally tells me nothing. What is going on? Is this a spike pile? Like, I have no idea what I should even be playing around out of this deck. Blood Crypt, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Oh, this is just Jund Saga? Okay, really bizarre opening for Jund Saga. Okay, so land or spell next turn. Well, actually, if they get Shadow Spear, we're just dead. Yep. Opponent did nothing and we die. Cool. Alright, so what do we even board against? Alright, let's look at Jund Saga. It's been a minute since I've actually played against it. Alright, so Ragavan's Tarmogoyf's. Our opponent has actually had her finish with the deck recently. Ragavan, Tarmogoyf, Tireless Tracker, Soul of Windgrace, sideboard, Haywire Might, Torok potentially. Soul of Windgrace is potentially annoying. Doesn't make much sense to bring in Sanctifier. Yes, it is immune to their removal, but they have Tarmogoyfs to blanket, as well as Construct tokens. Smash to Smithereens is very middling, although Searing Blaze isn't particularly good either. Maybe it's just something like this, or not Smash. Something like this. Normally a matchup that I find quite good, but I think it's pretty good overall. Opponent literally did nothing, played a Tarmogoyf, got a Shadow Spear, won the game. Okay, maybe a Bolt or a Ragavan. Alright, so we get to have the best of both worlds here. This. Ultra Monkey. Do another Tarmogoyf. Over in Catacombs. E on one. No, Dashing Monkey. Okay. Maybe hoping to hit like a... It's a land, which is not terrible for the home team. So we know the opponent has a Ragavan in hand. Beyond that, we just don't know. Opponent probably has a removal spell of some kind, maybe a Bolt or something. Nope. Okay. Well, that makes it a lot easier. I think they were counting on that Tarmogoyf to kind of hold down the fort. Let's quick submit. Now we got to win a game on the draw. Alright, pretty good burn hand overall. One more land than we'd ideally like. It goes turn one Ragavan. Every friggin' game. Monkey can just do too much on the early turns with this deck. I'll say, please don't. Oh. Okay. I meant to attack there. Oh well. Many mistakes were made. Meant to attack and skewer, but with a fatal push, maybe. Nope, just getting a trial hand, sure. I mean, you know I'm blocking, right? Run at 6. Sure. Alright, not a terrible addition to the party. Opponents. Vehicles. Soul of Windgrace. So if our opponent has a fatal push, they have to use it now. I think we just let that go. Because Soul of Windgrace alone is just going to threaten to take over the game because of the life gain ability. That goes to 4, back up to 7. And then we need... I don't think there is a draw that gets us back in the game. Actually, they go to 3, then to 6. So we need a 1 damage spell here for the games. Either a 1 damage spell or path. Goblin God's not anything the rest of the game. Yep, now we just die. Because our opponent can now gain 6 life a turn, and we're just dead. That might give us a chance, although I still think too much life. Yeah. Like, even if we go Deflecting Palm here, oh, as if there wasn't already enough. They might throw it on Soul of Windgrace. I think no matter what they do here, we're just... Plus they have a run in 6 Emblem. Not that that's particularly relevant because they don't bolt in the yard, but... Four, 5, 9. $10, 12, 13. Yeah. Alright, back for another match. On the play. Against Whoops. So we're up against a control deck of some kind. Hand seems fine. Keep. It's either control or elementals. Probably blue-white control. Lava Spike, go. Fisher's Bauble. Okay. That's a weird opening. Bauble out of a Kahira deck. I have no idea what's going on. You already know what I'm drawing. Why are you bobbling there? Good one, not a terrible draw here. Did not mean to skip through my turn, but that's just how kind of how the stream's going. Play a land, pass, because we have no idea what our opponent's doing yet. Feels like there maybe is a control with... I have no idea. Just got control, sure. Mishra's Wobbles definitely throw you off a little bit. Bless you. Okay, 4-color control with Mishra's Baubles? I have no idea what's going on. Searing Blaze is going to come back to bite us. Sure, another completely dead card unless they play a Solitude. How many counter spells do you have? Alright. So when the Mishra's Baubles threw me off, this is just looks like blue-white control with Leyline Binding. So we just bring in Firecrafts, the Vortexes, a couple copies of Smash, because a lot of times these decks have access to Chalice of the Void. So click submit. Mishra's Baubles were really the only thing that threw me off in this situation. Like, that seems really bizarre. Yeah. That's just totally weird out of a blue-white control deck. So we get to resolve Eidolon. Just going to grab Sacred Founder here. Because while it's unlikely they have Field of Ruin, just put Kahira in their hand, sure. Which could be Solitude fodder. Which is exactly what it feels like. Opponent has shown us Force of Negation, which is fine. This is one of the few matchups where you probably want a fourth copy of Eidolon, but even Leyline Binding, Solitude, you know, so many different answers. Okay, so they took 2 damage. I'm surprised that resolved. Is it going to get Archmage's Charmed? Apparently not. I could still get Leyline Binding. Oh, fun. Let's cast this guy. Force of Negation hardcast? Sure. No, they're going to cast Solitude here, so we're just going to have to kill it, because otherwise we lose the game and give them a land. And these are the kind of games you tend to lose against UWr Control. So you have a fetch land, 1 unknown, and obviously now 2 unknowns. Okay, still 1 unknown. They have a counterspell here, it's kind of whatever. It just seems they do. Another Force of Negation. Let's resolve this while we can. I was just playing that on the off chance that their hand was literally nothing but 2 lands. Okay. 1 unknown. Pass turn. Now we just play a game of Drago unless they have Solitude. Only thing you're tapping out for Teferi, maybe? Yep, Hero of Dominaria. It's one of the worst cards we could see from them. Because now they get 2 cards a turn. Still really weird to have Mistress Bob on their deck. Like, I understand they're trying to turn on Unholy Heat, but that just feels like a really bizarre card to have in their deck. Yeah, that also doesn't really matter. Alright, we could potentially win the game this turn. Unlikely, but possible. Must be nice to draw the perfects out of your blue-white control deck. Alright, put a ghost to 5. If they, for whatever reason, ever crack that stupid fetch land, Firecraft becomes lethal off the top. Apparently they like whatever else on top of their library. We draw land. Can't even be a Sakenzen here, man. Sakenzen would at least be good-ish. We have one more turn to draw Firecraft. If we don't, we just start losing lands. If our opponent... Oh, okay. Guess they're going to try to keep the fairy around. Expressive Iteration. Okay. First time we've seen that one out of their deck. Can I get a Firecraft one time? That's why you put the card in your deck to draw it, right? Quick wrap on the deck tonight. You know, we just lost to Jund Saga with its little bit of life gain being relevant. What was the first match even? Amulet Titan's just a rough matchup. And blue-white control, even it can be difficult if you don't have Firecraft in your sideboard anymore. There's just so many factors working against Modern Burn right now. Like, I don't even know. Like, I'm literally trying to think of other tweaks you can make to the deck. And I know people are trying. They're like trying like Flame Rift and Bump in the Night. And I know Mike Flores had a decent run with a deck recently in an event. Like, you can do well in events, but I just don't think overall the deck is well positioned anymore. I don't think the number of people playing the deck is justified by the deck's performance. There's just been too many consistent weeks of like bad result, mediocre result, bad result. Like, it really feels like it's hit that Dredge Tron level where you can win some matches and you can even spike an event, but it's just like, in general, the deck is not good. And it really breaks my heart because that's like, it's my favorite deck to play. And it's just really hard to consistently have fun with a deck when you're just losing all the time. No matter... Now, obviously, I've made a couple of Magic Online mistakes with clicking through combat steps and some other stuff. But ironically, neither one of them matter tonight. But yeah, the deck is just, it's middling. I don't know what else to tell you. Obviously, we'll be back next week with the stream. I'll probably finish up this particular League off stream and put it on the main channel, just as content filler for the rest of December as I'm figuring out the rest of that schedule. Yeah, then we have one more week. Hopefully my wife will be able to find reindeer ears in the meantime. So I'll be wearing reindeer antlers on next week's stream. A little bit of festiveness, all things, hopefully. And yeah, be our final burn stream for 2022. And then maybe after a couple weeks off, I'll feel a little bit recharged and try to find a new way to attack the deck, or maybe something will get spoiled in the next set. It'll be a burn modern staple, and hopefully there will be some new innovations. But right now, I'm just feeling kind of pretty meh on the deck. But as always, thank you everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube channel, and hope to see you for next week's Reindeer Antlers stream.